Split Rock Lighthouse, a beacon of history, tragedy, and mystery. Split Rock Lighthouse stands as one of the most iconic lighthouses in the United States. Perched dramatically atop a 130-foot cliff on Minnesota's north shore of Lake Superior, the lighthouse has captivated visitors with its beauty, its strategic maritime significance, and its lingering sense of mystery. Originally built to prevent tragedies on the unpredictable waters of Lake Superior, Split Rock Lighthouse has since become a powerful symbol of resilience and remembrance. The early 20th century was a booming period for ore shipping in the Great Lakes region. Taconite and iron ore from Minnesota's Mesabi Range were being transported across Lake Superior to industrial centers. However, the lake's infamously volatile weather made these journeys perilous. The catalyst for the lighthouse's creation was the devastating Mataafa storm of 1905, during which 29 ships were damaged or destroyed, and 36 lives were lost. The most notable wreck in the area was the William Edenborn, which broke in two near Split Rock. In response to this maritime disaster, there was a public outcry for better navigation aids along the treacherous North Shore. The construction of Split Rock Lighthouse was as dramatic and challenging as the location itself, sparked by the catastrophic Mataafa storm of 1905, which claimed numerous ships and dozens of lives. Public demand for navigational aids along Lake Superior's North Shore reached a fever pitch. That storm exposed the dire need for a lighthouse in the remote and rugged region where cliffs, fog, and powerful storms posed persistent threats to freighters transporting iron ore from the Mesabi Range. In 1907, the US Congress responded by allocating $75,000, a significant sum at the time, for the construction of a new lighthouse. The United States Lighthouse Board commissioned the project, and site surveys soon identified a dramatic cliff formation known as Split Rock as the ideal location. This sheer cliff jutted more than 130 feet above the surface of Lake Superior, offering exceptional visibility for a light beacon. However, its isolation presented formidable logistical challenges. There were no roads to the site. The only viable means of transporting materials was by boat, and once ashore, everything from steel beams to bricks and barrels of cement had to be hoisted up the cliff face. To achieve this, engineers installed a derrick and tram system, a temporary but vital cable railway powered by a gasoline engine that ferried heavy construction materials up the steep incline. The project was overseen by Ralph Tinkham, a skilled civil engineer from the US Lighthouse Service. Tinkham and his team faced a short construction season due to Minnesota's brutal winters, making speed and precision essential. Work began in earnest during the summer of 1909. By autumn, the team had begun erecting not only the lighthouse tower, but also the supporting buildings that would form the self-contained lighthouse station. The design included a 54-foot octagonal tower made of reinforced concrete and clad in buff-colored brick, a fog signal building, an oil house for storing flammable fuel, 3 keepers' residences, each equipped with a kitchen, living area, and sleeping quarters, a generator building, added later when electrification became feasible. The most important component, the third-order Fresnel lens, was manufactured in France and shipped across the Atlantic before being delicately transported to Split Rock. The lens was a technological marvel of the era, with concentric prisms designed to project a focused beam of light visible for up to 22 nautical miles on clear nights. The lighthouse was initially powered by kerosene vapor, which required daily maintenance and precision. By July 31st, 1910, the Split Rock Lighthouse was officially lit for the first time. Its beacons swept across Lake Superior's dark waters, a powerful signal to mariners that safety and guidance had arrived. For the lighthouse keepers and builders who had endured months of treacherous labor, the first lighting marked not only the completion of a project, but the beginning of a legacy. The Split Rock Lighthouse is admired not only for its cliffside placement, but also its elegant design. The tower stands 54 feet tall, constructed of concrete and clad in steel. Painted an eye-catching buff yellow, with a black lantern room. Its original third-order Fresnel lens could project light for 22 miles. Powered first by kerosene vapor, the light source was converted to electricity in 1940. A diaphone fog signal, notorious for its bone-rattling sound, was used during poor visibility. The site included water cisterns, root cellars, and living quarters for the headkeeper and assistants. Though it looks picturesque today, winters were isolating and harsh, and lighthouse duties required intense precision and vigilance. Life at Split Rock was a mixture of beauty and hardship. The keepers and their families lived in remote isolation for 8 months of the year, often cut off by heavy snowfall or lake storms. Supplies were stocked via boat in the fall to last through the winter. Keepers adhered to strict schedules, maintaining the light, polishing brass, recording weather, and maintaining the grounds. Children were homeschooled, and social opportunities were minimal. Despite the hardships, many keepers grew fond of the lighthouse and its scenery. Some reported hearing strange sounds echoing from the lake, or unexplained footsteps within the keepers' quarters. But these were often dismissed as tricks of the wind or imagination. Though the lighthouse was built to reduce maritime tragedy, Split Rock could not prevent every disaster. Numerous shipwrecks occurred along the North Shore both before and after the lighthouse's construction. Some of the most significant include the Madeira, 1905. A barge crushed against the cliffs during the Mataafa storm. 9 of her crew survived by scaling the icy rock face. The Benjamin Noble, 1914. Disappeared with all hands, her wreck was found decades later. The Thomas Wilson, 1902. Collided with another vessel, sinking in minutes. This predated Split Rock, but was part of the region's bloody history. The brutal winters and surprise gales of Lake Superior continued to claim lives. Some say these restless souls never truly left. The Mataafa storm is considered one of the worst natural disasters on Lake Superior. Hurricane-force winds, sleet and snow blindsided ships on November 28 to 29, 1905. Over 24 ships were wrecked or grounded. The Mataafa, a steel freighter, attempted to enter the Duluth harbour but crashed against a breakwater. 9 of her crew froze to death before rescuers could reach them. The disaster left the Great Lakes shipping community in shock and proved the dire need for more lighthouses. Though the Split Rock Lighthouse wasn't constructed until years later, the storm's memory is deeply tied to its origin. Some believe that the spirits of those lost still linger near the cliffs. By the 1950s, navigational technology and newer shipping routes rendered Split Rock Lighthouse less critical. Radar and GPS began replacing traditional navigation aids. In 1969, the US Coast Guard decommissioned the lighthouse. For the first time in nearly 60 years, the beacon went dark. But public outcry once again shaped its future. Rather than be torn down, the lighthouse was transferred to the Minnesota Historical Society. It now serves as a museum and state historic site. Its lens still lit on November 10th every year in honor of the Edmund Fitzgerald and all who perished on the Great Lakes. After its transfer to the Minnesota Historical Society, Split Rock Lighthouse underwent careful restoration. It was designated a National Historic Landmark in 2011, and today, much of the site has been restored to its 1920s appearance. Visitors can tour the keeper's quarters, walk the grounds, and witness demonstrations of the original foghorn. The preservation of original structures, unlike many modernized lighthouses, offers an authentic glimpse into maritime history. Yet for all its historical value, some visitors come not just for the architecture, but for the rumors of spirits. Split Rock has long been associated with eerie phenomena. Visitors and staff alike report unexplained footsteps in the keeper's quarters, doors opening and closing on their own, sudden cold spots, especially near the Foghorn building. Apparitions of a man in a keeper's uniform, seen from a distance, then vanishing. Sounds of bells and foghorns when none are in use, whether it's residual energy from past tragedies or the lingering presence of devoted keepers, something beyond explanation seems to endure. The stoic beauty of Split Rock Lighthouse stands in sharp contrast to the ghostly tales that swirl around its windswept cliffs and historic structures. While skeptics may attribute the strange occurrences to suggestion or natural phenomena, the volume and consistency of first-hand accounts suggests something more persistent, and perhaps more personal, is at play. From spectral keepers to shadowy figures by the water's edge, the lighthouse seems to house more than just memories. Among the most commonly reported supernatural occurrences at Split Rock is the sighting of a man in a keeper's uniform, usually spotted during evening hours or at dawn. Witnesses describe him as tall and thin, wearing an old-fashioned cap and heavy wool coat. He's often seen walking from the keeper's house to the lighthouse or gazing out over Lake Superior with hands clasped behind his back. In every case, when approached, the figure simply vanishes. Some believe this is the spirit of Orville Ainsworth, a former headkeeper who served from 1928 to 1940. Known as a perfectionist and a dedicated public servant, Ainsworth took immense pride in the lighthouse's operation and its pristine appearance. Stories claim that even after his death, he continues to ensure that everything is in order. Former staff and nighttime visitors have reported doors unlocking on their own, beds that appear suddenly made, and tools inexplicably laid out as if for inspection. One ranger recalled locking the lighthouse at 5 p.m, only to return the next morning and find the door ajar, the Fresnel lens cleanly polished, and the logbook open to the previous day's entry, with a neat but unfamiliar handwriting added beside it. All clear, Ainsworth. Another prominent haunting centres on the old tramway system that once ferried supplies from the lakeshore up to the station. The steep incline and treacherous footing made it a risky area even in the best weather. Though official records are vague, oral histories from former lighthouse families suggest that in 1917, a young assistant keeper named James Lund slipped on the wet rail tracks while unloading barrels and fell to his death. His body was reportedly recovered at the base of the cliff days later, mangled by the rocks and surf. Since then, hikers on the adjacent cliffside trail and visitors near the old hoist house have reported fleeting visions of a man tumbling downward in their peripheral vision, only to turn and find nothing there. Even more unsettling, some say that at dusk, a dark figure can be seen standing at the edge of the cliff, motionless, for long minutes. When observed through binoculars or zoom lenses, the figure seems to flicker or blur around the edges before disappearing entirely. A Duluth-based paranormal research team that visited the site in 2015 claimed to record unusual electromagnetic field spikes along the tram tracks and near the old landing platform. Their thermal imaging camera picked up a cold human-shaped silhouette hovering just over the cliff's edge, facing the lake. The oil house, a small stone building used to store volatile kerosene and later mineral oil for the lamp, has its own share of ghost stories. While the building itself is simple and utilitarian, many visitors report an oppressive feeling upon entering, as if the air suddenly thickens. Several museum docents have claimed to hear murmuring voices, as if two men were speaking in hushed tones. Yet upon opening the door or checking security footage, no one is inside. One staff member swears that during a winter maintenance check, he heard his name whispered twice inside the oil house, even though he was alone and the building had been locked from the outside. In 2019, a professional psychic who visited the site during an after-hours event described the oil house as charged with emotional residue, saying that she sensed anxiety, urgency, and fear, possibly connected to past concerns over flammable materials and explosions. Some believe the sounds may be residual energy from past emergencies or close calls with fire. The keeper's residence, lovingly restored to its 1920s appearance, is one of the most visited structures at Split Rock. While the building is typically quiet and still, visitors occasionally report hearing the laughter of children, even when no families are present. Footsteps are sometimes heard running upstairs, yet no one is found. According to oral history, several families lived at the Lighthouse during the 1910s and 1920s, and young children were often homeschooled on site. Winter isolation fostered both close family ties and bouts of cabin fever. Tragedy did touch the residents at least once. Records suggest that the daughter of an assistant keeper died from influenza in 1918 during the global pandemic, likely within the home itself. In recent years, several guests and staff members have described seeing a young girl in a white nightgown peering out from an upstairs bedroom window. When they approached to investigate, the room was empty. A particularly chilling account came from a couple visiting during a snowstorm. They photographed the upstairs window and later noticed what appeared to be a small handprint on the glass from the inside. Lake Superior is known for its sound-carrying properties. The wide expanse of water and high humidity allow voices, bells, and mechanical noises to travel for miles. However, some sounds heard at Split Rock defy natural explanation. The fog signal, decommissioned decades ago, is still reportedly heard by some visitors on dense, overcast days. A low, vibrating honk echoes along the cliffs, though no operational foghorn remains. Rangers have confirmed that there is no modern equipment capable of reproducing that specific sound. Even stranger is the occasional report of phantom fog, a sudden, localized mist that appears around the lighthouse base or surrounding trail on otherwise clear days. Visitors caught in the fog describe an eerie silence, temperature drop, and a sense of being watched. In one instance, a photography student wandered into a patch of fog and heard what he described as boots pacing in a circle just behind him. When he turned around, there was no one there, only fading footprints in the damp grass. While many dismiss these incidents as products of imagination, wind, or environmental anomalies, the consistency of reports over the decades suggests a pattern that can't be entirely explained away. Paranormal investigators classify the majority of Split Rock's phenomena as residual hauntings, repetitive, non-interactive energies left behind by intense emotions or routines. Others believe some manifestations are intelligent, particularly the sightings of the keeper figure who vanishes only when noticed. Skeptics often cite plausible causes: iron ore deposits beneath the site that interfere with electronics, the amplifying effects of lake acoustics, or even minor hallucinations induced by isolation or suggestion. Yet even they admit that Split Rock possesses an undeniable atmospheric weight, a sense that history is never quite finished speaking. Whether viewed through the lens of ghost stories or historical memory, Split Rock Lighthouse retains a kind of presence. It is more than just a restored maritime site, it feels inhabited. The boundary between past and present seems thin atop those cliffs, where wind and water meet stone and steel. Perhaps the spirits that remain are not malevolent but simply devoted, keepers still tending their eternal post, children still playing where they once lived, and lost sailors still searching for home. Haunted or not, Split Rock Lighthouse continues to captivate those who walk its grounds, daring them to listen just a little closer to the whispers in the fog. Today, Split Rock Lighthouse serves over 100,000 visitors annually. It's a place where history and haunting meet. Events include Edmund Fitzgerald Memorial Beacon lighting, lighthouse keeper tours, ghost tours and paranormal nights, Lake Superior Shipwreck Festival. The site has appeared in documentaries, paranormal shows, and regional legends. Whether you're drawn by curiosity, grief, or ghost stories, Split Rock has something powerful to offer. Split Rock Lighthouse is more than stone and steel. It is a monument to human perseverance, a witness to tragedy, and, perhaps, a vessel for spirits of the past. Its light once warned sailors of rocky danger, but today it illuminates something even deeper: the resilience of memory and the haunting beauty of the unknown. Its beacon may no longer guide ships, but it continues to guide the imaginations of those who stand upon its cliffs, listening to the wind, the waves, and maybe, just maybe, the whispers of those who never left.